Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome tonight to an episode of Change Starts With Us, Ohio. We have Jerry Vaughn with us, David Vaughn, who is incarcerated, who is wrongfully incarcerated. For sure, David. Jerry, why don't you share a little bit about your son so that we could get people to understand why he is wrongfully convicted?
Well, at the time of the situation, he had just turned 18. He had some friends that he really did not associate with very often. He didn't even talk to them that often. And so the one guy who was much older at that time kept calling him to come over to his house, to visit. And of course, David would refuse to go and stuff. And the guy harassed him a lot about coming by his house, although his girlfriend, the guy's girlfriend, my son David, actually went to school with her and stuff. So he knew her quite well and stuff. So eventually he finally went over to their house. And through the process, this guy had a plan that he had questioned David before about taking him to someone's house, and he would refuse and repeatedly refuse. So he happened to go to his house that one evening, and the guy's girlfriend was there, and another guy was there. So they started talking to him about taking him to somebody's house, and he refused. So they started giving him Coke and stuff. Now, my son was not really addicted to drugs at all. He would smoke pot occasionally, and he had done some Coke, a little bit. But that particular night, they kept repeatedly giving him Coke and repeatedly pot to smoke and stuff. So finally, he was to a point where he really didn't understand what was going on. So they kind of coerced him into finally taking him to this man's house that they had heard about from the man's son himself. So he ended up driving him to this man's house. Once they got there, they told him that this man had $1 million in his safe and he wanted it, which my son said he didn't want anything to do with it. So things proceeded, and the one guy had went around the back of the house, and my son followed him. So the one guy kicked the back door in, and the older guy, Joseph Taylor is his name, went in through the front door. So the guy that went in through the back shot this man in the legs with a shotgun so he couldn't get up and run, which scared the hell out of my son. He didn't know what was happening either. So they proceeded to ransack the house a little bit to try to find any money in the house or anything that they can. So they did not find anything. So on the way out, Joseph Taylor gave the gun to my son and told him to shoot this man, which my son was so out of his mind. He did not shoot the man. He shot into the wall. And then the guy grabbed the gun from him and shot and killed the man. So after all of that happened, things began to fall apart. Once got involved and stuff. So, but to go back a little bit, this guy had already pre-planned to go to this man's property because him and his girlfriend were on videotapes at Myers in Englewood, Ohio, buying black spray paint and duct tape. So she herself knew something was going to transpire. So once the police got involved and everything and started questioning things, they questioned my son, which he didn't understand what they were talking about, as he said. So later on, after they made an arrest into this case, of course, as we found out through the process, people were arrested, but they had no DNA from no one. They did not have a weapon. There was no DNA from no one in that man's house. Although, once the prosecutors got involved, by people talking on the street, which was all hearsay and stuff. So anyway, that's how they put their case together. And the man's girlfriend, her name was Crystal Ballard, from Englewood, Ohio. They talked to take her child away from her if she did not do what they asked her to do, which the one thing was that they asked her to do was to implicate my son as part of it, as part of the planning, which was not.
Yeah, it reminds me of another story I heard today, that the lady was threatened that they would take her kids away if she did not point that one certain person at the crime scene, and they would take her kids away if she didn't agree with it. So I do know that happens.
Yes, it happens. It happens, yes. Well, once she decided that she was going to cooperate and do what they said, although she was involved in the planning of this, she was given total immunity, no prosecution whatsoever. So, but once everybody had been arrested in this case, the prosecutor.
Are you there? I can't hear you.
Once they were arrested.
Okay, go ahead. You there?
Schedule.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay.
Again, once any hearings had been scheduled, the judge in the case had told my attorney, who by the way, was Bobby Joe from Dayton, Ohio. As I said before, any hearings had been scheduled, the had made comment to the attorney, if my son did not cooperate, he would give him 50 years in prison. Now, to me, that's coercion from the court itself. So with that hanging over him, he had to make a decision as to what he was going to do. So he ended up pleading, but so testified the other three to the fact that they knew that this guy had been giving him drugs to get him under their control. The court knew that. So he testified against the co-defendant, and once the judge talked to the attorneys, his attorney was to make a deal with the prosecutor for his testimony, but his attorney did not do that. He made no deals with the prosecutors whatsoever for his testimony. But prior to all of that, with the information that I had, I informed his attorney of a horrible situation pertaining to the district attorney's office. And I asked for a change of venue based on that information, and his attorney did not file any paperwork with the court for a change of venue based on the information that he had. So, to make another long story short here, the reason that he did not request a change of venue in this case is because the victim in the case itself was a personal childhood friend of the district attorney, Matt Peck. So that case, with everyone involved, was extremely biased with extreme prejudice, period. There was no deals made from no one at all, except for the guy's girlfriend herself, although she planned the break-in itself. Now, let's go to wrongful convictions. Yes, he's wrongfully convicted of murder because he did not commit the murder, number one. Number two, he was not voluntarily there. He did not voluntarily just get involved. He was coerced into it. Also, I found out from another friend of the older gentleman that my son was also supposed to have been killed that night to make it look like a murder-suicide, which that did not happen. Thank God. But again, it's almost to a point, if he had been killed, I could probably have got over that quicker than what I've been able to get over with it now, knowing what I know about the whole case itself.
It sounds like the county is pretty corrupt.
Oh, Montgomery County is very corrupt, period. Yes, it is. We hired a second attorney to get involved with this case. So through the course of that, the second attorney failed to file post-conviction relief. He let time expire. And I confronted him over that after I talked to a different attorney in the federal court system. So once I found that out, I was quite angry with him. But we did manage to get one appeal in Montgomery County. But before the hearing was scheduled, I had found online a document that the prosecutor's office, the assistant prosecutor, I think her name was Carly Ingram, she had wrote a brief to the court stating that Mr. Vaughn himself testified in court that he shot and killed this man, which that was not true whatsoever. So once I informed his attorney of this, he said he would handle it. So we had our hearing. The question was raised, but his attorney did not at any time rebuttal her statements whatsoever. So after the hearing was over, I ended up firing him immediately because of not doing his job that he was hired to do. I mean, people like me and a lot of other people pay these attorneys thousands of dollars to do something. Now, the end result that he did not do anything, as I was informed, that the prosecutor told them not to argue this case any further, because if they did, do not expect any deals from the prosecutor with future clients whatsoever. They wouldn't get it if they pursued this case. So they dropped it, and I fired them. So once again, we're back to square one with attorneys. We hired another attorney in Columbus, and of course, he failed to do nothing at all either. So in fact, he has even lost the files, everything that was turned over to him. So, but when we go back to wrongful convictions, the state legislators, they know for a fact that there is wrongful convictions, and they are based on the ways that they have the laws written. And it's up to the state legislators to change those laws. And if they don't change those laws to prevent some of this, they are just as guilty as the prosecutors that are doing it.
Right. That's one thing we want to get done, but the problem that we face, and they do in almost every state, is we have a lot of people that say, yes, they will help, but they're nowhere around to help. You have to be able to bring other groups together, people together, for any type of change.
There's an author in I think it was Newark, Ohio. So he was wrongfully convicted. He did spend 25 years in prison. But he wrote a book. His name is James Love.
He's out. He's out. He's not by Newark at all.
But he wrote this book called System Failures. It's a critique of the judicial system of the United States. So this book is quite interesting. If anyone would want to order that book, I'm not promoting the book. But I'm just saying, if you want to order the book, you can order it on Amazon. It's very interesting to read.
What is Sandy's name of her book?
I think it's something to the injustice of the United States.
Yeah. Let me. Because I want to promote that. I'm just texting now. Because there's a few people that's really did a great job. This lady even that wrote one on death row prisoners, or nephew, or I think it was a cousin or nephew was executed like 20 years ago. A Christian lady out of Michigan I became friends with. I'm working on one. There's going to be a lot of positive insight from these authors that has been there or has worked with these folks.
But this all happens all the way across the United States with the court systems. It's a corrupt system. It's a money maker for the state. They make millions of dollars not only to have incarcerated people, but they make millions of dollars off of their families also and stuff. And then again, it's up to the legislators to put a stop to this stuff. Even our Ohio Supreme Court here has said the court is well aware of the wrongful conviction in this state. and they want the prosecutor to fix it, but they are refusing to fix it. So again, it goes back to the legislation of the state to fix problems. And the buck doesn't stop just there. It goes all the way through to the governors and the attorney generals of every state too.
Right.
They can put a stop to it. One way that to put a stop to it nationwide is to do away with qualified immunity from the police officers all the way through the judicial system. That will put a stop to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know that they cannot stand behind a piece of paper for their protection, and it allows them to do whatever they want to do and say whatever they want to say.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to be able to believe what the police officers are telling you, but they'll lie. They would lie to their mother on her deathbed. Most of them. Now, we've probably got some good officers, but I will tell my own belief, there's not an honest prosecutor in this country whatsoever.
That we know of. I'm sure there is. But we just, we only see the bad side of them. Franklin County got rid of theirs. Calgary County keeps replacing theirs. Montgomery needs to replace theirs.
Right.
No, and you're hoping the next one would be better.
My point to the prosecutor or to the district attorney, Matt Heck, not making changes because, number one, he wasn't informed by his attorney of this. No. That's the
Right.
point. The state should give inmates or a defendant less for their testimony when there is multiple people involved. Testified co-defendant, that person should be given a lot less time for their testimony and stuff. Now, again, the end result, my son being sentenced to prison for a murder he did not commit and was not voluntarily involved, he ended up getting 28 to 33 years.
So he sees a pro board win after 28?
Yeah.
Okay, how long has he been down?
Well, he's been in there since 2005. So he's only been in there 16 years. So he doesn't go to the parole board in 2032, Well, he's actually been locked up since 2004 when he got arrested prior to the court dates in January 2005. But this man, the prosecutor, or the district attorney, however you want to call him, he was not entitled to anything more than he would have given someone else for testimony. Now, to go back as reference to that, a friend of ours, the girl's nephew was killed in Dayton, Ohio, by 4 individuals. And the one individual, as they have said, who had the most blood on him, became a state's witness and testified against the other 3 in the murder case. He only received 5 years in prison. 5 years. So again, why wasn't my son given 5 years for his testimony? That didn't happen, like I said, because the victim was a personal friend of the district attorney, and so were the victim's parents and the district attorney's parents, were all of the neighbor elite. Yeah. But those people are not entitled to any more than anybody else in the ghetto, from the ghetto, for the same thing at all. So anyway, it all still goes back and stands to, and it's in the hands of the state legislators to put a stop to some of this stuff by doing away with qualified immunity from the police officers through the entire court system. Period.
Right.
But if people don't start standing up and speaking up to where the state legislators hear what people are talking about and sending them information about it, nothing is going to happen. Now, yes, we did write a bill and proposed it to the state of Ohio for changes to be made. Hopefully, down the road, someone there will take a look at this and take it into the chambers to be discussed and possibly pass this.
Right, and we need help with that, folks. Just a few people can't really get it done. And in other states, the same bill probably could be used in your state as well. What it does is it caps off sentences at 20 years unless if you have multiple victims or you pick up a new felony convicted in a court of law, not a kangaroo court at the institution, not a drug, dirty urine at the institution that is being brought in mostly by staff. We're talking about something of a serious nature. And we need to stop denying people from their release by nature of offense. That's not going to change.
Hatred of the crime is never going to stop.
No, but people can change.
The parole boards need to get over that while they're in process. But again, another step that needs to be done is to do away with the parole board totally. And then if a judge sentences someone to 20 years in prison, once that 20 years is up, they get out automatically. These people are not God.
And for some people, this 20-year cap will be really the only chance they have because maybe their age or what have you. As people have been down in Ohio, I think we got the longest. It's like 48 years right now. Some or 58, either 50 or 48 in Ohio. There's two people, and that's ridiculous because their crime was no difference than some of the people that got paroled at 15 years.
That is true. That's true. So, I don't know who these people think they are. They, no, we're going to keep them here for another 5. Or you're going to flop another 10. Then after 10, you're going to give another 5.
Right.
What's the basis of that? What is, if a person has changed their life, has not committed crimes even while in prison, then what's the use of keeping them? Because why?
They cost them taxpayers' money.
It's about money. It's about keeping the prisons filled up to make money off of them. And now we're looking at how many private prisons in the state of Ohio. They have contracts. They have contracts to get so many inmates through the system because of their agreements that they make. There was one state, I forget where it was at, Oklahoma, somewhere like that, I want to say. I may be wrong. But the private prison system was suing the state because they were not fulfilling their contract and sending them inmates. Now, how much more corrupt can something get? You have all these people who run for office. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to look into this. I want to look into all this stuff. I want to make changes in these systems and stuff. But guess what? Once they get elected, you never hear from them again. That they don't even know who you are when you confront them with it. It's
Right.
all political, corrupt system. And that goes all the way up to the federal level, period. The federal government made changes in order to keep people in prison longer, too. The federal government, in my opinion, should not have anything to do with what the state does, other than creating laws that gives better protection for inmates, which we need more of and stuff, because these people are abused today by some CO, But the state of Ohio doesn't want to spend, as they said, millions of dollars for body cameras, which will give protection to the inmates and the CO also, as to really what happened. But they say they can't afford it. But yet they can afford millions of dollars to purchase a piece of equipment to scan mail that is sent to the inmates to determine whether there's drugs on that paper or not. Period. What's it matter? You're not going to give them, they don't get their mail anyway. You scan it, you give them a copy of it, and you throw the rest of it away. Okay, if that's what you're going to continue to do that. But don't spend millions of dollars for a piece of equipment when that millions of dollars can be spent on body cameras for better protection. Because you got too many cases right now in the state of Ohio, of inmates being beaten, killed.
For example, what happened at CRC last December?
CRC was murdered by the COs. He was 62 years old, and he was only in prison for 11 months. And they killed him. Then you got another young man in Chillicothe that he just won a $17.5 million suit against the state because of being abused by COs and beating him until he was paralyzed from his chest down. Now, again, that's another interesting case. It has been in the news that, according to the news, the one CO resigned, 2 were fired, and 1 was given a 2-day suspension. Now, again, the one with the 2-day suspension, if he was involved, he should have put a stop to it. He should have been fired also. But they all should be prosecuted.
They are right now. They're being prosecuted. But, then that's one example. And I'm pretty sure it's happening in it's probably happening in every camp. But if they would have the body cams.
But it happens in your local jails too.
Yeah.
Not just prisons.
Right. Just like, for example, what happened with that guy from Dayton. Now, they're saying it's a drug overdose. I think you said, didn't you?
That's what the news said. A possible drug overdose.
They would know if it's possible or not,
For sure. But again, I heard the 911 tape, and the CO was calling. We need to send somebody out. Okay, what's the problem? Well, we think it's a drug overdose. Well, no questions were asked. Well, did you try to give him Narcan or anything? That wasn't never stated on the 911 tape.
Right.
So, but how long did it take them to get there? Did anybody try to save this man before getting him to the hospital where he died? No his charges. My opinion, probably not. Probably not.
Right. Well, we could really keep going with this conversation. I think we're going to need to do a part 2 sometime next week with Jerry. And I'd like him to get his input on how you can get involved and help with this movement. Each I mean, you should work in your home state first before anything else even gets done. And we have so many advocates, newer advocates, which is really amazing, but so young and have never really been involved in advocating, that really need to work with others so that they can learn the systems. And then figure out what they want to advocate for. You can't advocate for pro wrongful convictions, anti-death penalty, and 3-4 other ones. We do work on pro wrongful convictions, and we're opposed to the death penalty, but we don't necessarily do much with the death penalty unless if we're asked from other groups, we will get involved and help.
Right.
They'll
help as much as we can, but
right.
Going back to my son's case, there was no physical evidence against no one in that case. None was, no fingerprints, no nothing, no gun, no nothing. But again, the 2 defendants that had lawyers, I told him on the phone. I didn't tell him who I was, but I told him. I said, eventually you're going to understand what's going on in the case. And I said, because you don't know how corrupt that this case has become and how biased and extreme prejudice this case is. But I said, in due time, I will call back. So I haven't called yet, but I may call him back, tell him about everything, and stuff. So we'll see where it goes, Now I have been summoned for jury duty in the past, and I send it back and tell them I refuse. I refuse to be on a jury because, in my opinion, I don't care what kind of a case it is. The prosecutor handled that case. They're corrupt. All prosecutors are corrupt in some way. And I refuse to be on any jury duty whatsoever, period. And I get out of it,
Right.
And I'll continue to get out of it.
Right. Tanya, Tanya, if you could put down the name and the website for your radio broadcast as well, so people can know, to watch your show, please. You do such a tremendous job. Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
That just pretty much sums it up. I would just like to see a lot more people get involved, and I'd like to see a lot more groups come together to work together, irregardless of how you may feel about someone else in the group.
Right.
That's not what it's about. It's about helping people the best we can and convince their legislators that something has got to be done to put a stop to all this. Now, in my opinion, they makes the laws that I think citizens of that state should file suits against state legislators and stuff.
Right. That's true.
The biggest thing we need is to find an attorney that will work with groups and file do at least one pro case a year.
Right, and our goal is to, like what Jerry said, is we would like to meet with some of these bigger law firms that have a pro bono section and get them to agree to do 1 or 2 cases per year. Then we'll be able to start getting our folks home, hopefully, or maybe the sentences reduced, to give some type of relief for people. Because even if they are guilty, I do believe most people are able to change if they choose to want to.
Well, I think the innocent program should get different types of cases also, and stuff.
Right.
And stuff, because I mean they know the ins and the outs and,
Right.
and stuff. I mean, once they pull somebody's record up, they're going to read what that says, but they're either going to believe what it says or they're not, without contacting anybody that's involved with it to find out the real truth. Because these court documents, a lot of times, don't tell the truth 100%.
Right. Right.
Because the reason I say that, stenographers are to type and record whatever is being said in that court. But once that is done, the court and the prosecutor's office can go back into those systems and change the wordings themselves. Which again, that's fraud.
That's true. That's true. Well, everybody, we appreciate each and every one of you, and it's going to be an honor to work with so many. But after Jerry hangs up, if you'd like to call in and give your input on his situation, please call 380-799-3868 because Jerry can respond to you personally. Jerry, you're going to have to like our group page, Wrongful Conviction Awareness. That's sponsored by our group. I just sent you an invite. Folks, again, you can call in. The number is 380-799-3868. We'll stay on for about 5 minutes to see if anybody would like to call in, give their input on this, on wrongful convictions. Any suggestions? We're definitely we're eager to hear from you. Okay, Jerry.
Thanks.
Okay, talk to you later. Okay, bye. Okay, everybody, the number is 380-799-3868. We need to pull together as a group, as people, as Americans, not just your state. I think your state should be the number one priority, as each state has their own issues regarding the prison system or wrongful convictions or pro-reform or abuse, mental, physical. I mean, it's happening nationwide. It'd be great if we can pull together as groups and form a coalition that's going to be strong. And instead of sitting there and saying, I don't like that person, so I'm not going to work with them, you're part of the problem when you say something like that. Because for myself, there's a lot of times I have to put away my opinions, for the better of the movement. Because I don't really dislike anyone for the most part. There's some people maybe I stay away from for certain reasons. But I can't say there's anybody I dislike. If you'd like to call in, the number is 380-799-3868. And I'll be on for a couple more minutes. And we'll go from there. And if you have a chance to order Sandy Freeze's book, you can inbox her. Inbox Sandy Freeze and ask her the name of the book. It's through Amazon, but it's outstanding. I was part of the book somewhat, and she interviewed so many good people. And she's got artwork from, I think, David Vaughn, Jerry Vaughn's son. Jerry was just on here. So that's going to be great. And if any of you would like to be our guest, please send me a message on Facebook or text me at 380-799-3868. And we will make sure we find a spot for you. I'm not the best interviewer, but we do get the message out, and that's the whole purpose, is for our people to get a fair opportunity And by no means do we think people should not be held accountable. That's not what it's about. It's about what is too much time or wrongful convictions. Come on, folks. It's happening. People are getting ridiculous sentences than what they should. And we have to be a little bit more outspoken on the injustices that's taken place. Okay, everybody, I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Let's see. Okay, post now. Okay, everyone, Snapchat. I mean, not Snapchat. On YouTube, please check out our website at www.changestartswithusohio.org. Again, that is www.changestartswithusohio.org. And have a great night. Oh, let me give you our business phone as well. Shiloh Rafferty has a business phone. But I just think it's appropriate to pass it out. It is 614-634-3169. Again, that is 614-634-3169. That's our business phone, folks. Thank you for joining us tonight.